Hello everyone and welcome to another Visuino video. As you may have noticed, I have been busy for quite a few months and you may have been wondering what's happening. Well, finally the cat is out of the bag and you may have discovered that there is a literally brand new Visuino now available. And when I say brand new Visuino, I mean it literally. Almost everything in Visuino has been redesigned in one way or another, from the graphical editor all the way to the code generation. Everything has been touched and I have done my best to optimize it. So finally I have a little bit of time and I will go over only some of the new features in Visuino. There is so much new stuff that it will take literally hours to go through everything, but I will try to cover the most interesting new features that can benefit all of you. So let's start first with the visual appearance. Immediately when you select component, you will discover that the properties area has been improved and you have icons for the properties that have sub-properties, and this extends of course all the way to the shields. As example, I can pick a Wi-Fi shield and I can pick as example a robot shield of some type or two. They may conflict, but that should not be a problem. And if I select the board, again I can expand the shields and you can see that most of the properties have icons. Again, this is work in progress, so I may have missed here and there some, and I'm working to update them as well. Everything takes time, and Visuino is growing as quite a huge project, as again you may have noticed. So the next feature is that traditionally we had the toolbar, and yeah, I personally like the toolbar. I prefer to use it myself. However, a lot of people have been asking for alternative TreeView. So here you go, you can click on this button, open the setup dialog and select TreeView, and voila, immediately you have the same toolbar in TreeView form and with exactly the same functionality. The next feature is of course traditionally you can select component and either drag and drop it or just click. Both methods work. However, it always will come with the default naming convention. I have set up for each new component recommended name. However, if you're not happy about it, you can create the new component with your own name. As example, test. So any component you add now will be named test and will have a suffix sequential number, test 1, 2, 3 and so on and so forth. The first component you add will always have the name test1. However, if I decide to name the component my test, and if I unclick this button, uncheck it by clicking on it, if I click and add a button, I personally prefer the click method as it doesn't require me to hold the mouse while dragging. As you can see, the component was created without the added number. If I add, however, another component, this component will have a suffix of 1 in order each component to have unique name, which is required for the proper work of Visuino. I can close this window, and now as example I can search for sequence, add a sequence, open the Elements editor and I can add periods. You all know how all of this works. However, now I can also override the default naming for the newly created element. Again, I can start calling them test. So every new component I add by, as example, double clicking or drag dropping will be called test and will have suffix, which is the sequential number. However, I can disable the numbering, and there, since here the names can be the same, each of the newly added components will have the same name, custom typed by me. I can use the default names, uncheck the numbering, and again, numbers will not be added, but it will use the default name. This is another new feature. Let's try another cool feature. In Visuino Pro, you have of course the code editor. It has been there since the beginning. However, now if you press Ctrl F or this button, you will open search window, and here you can search for, as example, test, and double clicking on the search results you will navigate to the proper location for anything that contains the particular word. In addition to the search, you can go to specific line by clicking on this line column area or by pressing Ctrl L. Both methods work. And you can go directly to line 70 as example. Next, we have exactly the same functionality in the custom code editor. So if I add custom code editor and as example do the unstart part, I can of course type some code. At the moment this is of course not code, but this will be. Here I can press Ctrl F and immediately go to any line that contains test or hello as example. I can also go to particular line. I'll close the search first and go to line 6 or line 2. The same functionality actually works in the serial terminal and in the build. Now we'll do search, in this case in our OpenWire diagram. I can start navigating even without typing any search to specific elements by double clicking on them, or I can filter, as example, for any servo. Now I have filtered results only for servos, and I can click on anything that is associated with the servos, or I can search for I2C. Or particular component or its elements. As example, the sequence component or anything that's called test. In this case, we name quite a lot of things test, so we can jump between components and elements that have this word. We can filter down to components only or elements, and we can also include and exclude properties. Let's see if this will give us, yes, as example, I excluded all the properties And since there is nothing I2C, I can add one I2C display as example. Now in this case accelerometer gyroscope, and it immediately became available here. So I can switch between the properties and components, and I can disable the properties, and now only the components will be highlighted. Everything else, of course, is dimmed. So this makes searching within complex open wire diagrams really super easy. This is one of my personal favorite features. Now we'll clear everything and we'll start a new project. And I will quickly build it. As you can see, as usual, the build is quite quick, but you'll also notice that there is much more information about what libraries and what platforms have been used. This is thanks to actually the Arduino-CLI project. Visuino now uses the latest Arduino-CLI version, and it provides much more information during the build. Now I will show you another cool feature. I will switch to the traditional toolbar and I will add a packet component. In this packet component, I will add some elements. I'll just quickly add a few different ones. And I will close this editor. So now very often when we make packet component in one project, we will need to unpack it as example in another project when we do transmitter receiver. That traditionally has been quite time-consuming task, since we have to add exactly the same settings for the packet component, including header marker, which I'm going to add in this case with my traditional 5555. And if you want to have a packet that works with this particular packet, you have to match all of the channels and settings. That may take a while and it is error prone. However, now it is super easy. I can just copy the packet component from one project, paste it in another project. Of course, it is still packet component. However, if I select Unpacket here, right click on the packet and click Replace Select. Voila! The packet component was converted into Unpacket. All of the channels were properly populated, matching the channels of the packet, and even the header marker is properly populated. Something which would take me quite some minutes to properly set up, here was literally took just a couple of seconds. Furthermore, if I want to convert a packet component into a structure, or vice versa, I can do this as well. I can search for structure, select it, right click on the packet and replace it with structure. Of course, we don't have header marker here, but all of the elements are properly populated. And I can do, of course, the same for the Unpacket. And that's it. We converted between make structure and split structure. In addition, something that was missing for quite a while, now I can copy and paste elements. And I can even copy and paste elements from make structure into, as example, split structure. Again, making it much easier to copy channels from the make versus split components, packet-unpacket type of components. Next, I have also made it easier to install support for Raspberry Pi. Traditionally, you had to install your own platform for Raspberry Pi. Here, however, I have already uninstalled the Raspberry Pi platform, and as you can see, first of all, it is listed under the platforms, something that was not available before. And second of all, when I select a board type of Raspberry Pi, Visuino will automatically install the necessary support. Please be patient, as the Raspberry Pi platform is quite huge and it will take quite some minutes to properly install. So the support is finally installed. Now I can go ahead and compile the project. You can ignore these red lines, they are typical warnings. And as you can see, we have successful compilation. And now I can click here to open the build folder, where is my binary file, which I can copy through my terminal using HSS as example on my Raspberry Pi and run it. So finally, I will quickly mention some of the new features in terms of components and functionality. There now audio. Components such as split audio, merge audio, there is audio generators like this one, and plenty others. Here we can generate tone, triangle, or square audio. We can specify the format in terms of bits per second, buffer size, channels, sample rates, and we can specify the frequency of the generator. To use the audio, the best way is one of the newly added I2S components. We can add a speaker component. To send the data to the component, we have to have a board that has I2S added. I will connect the control for the speaker into the control line of the output, the data to the data of the speaker, and the output of the generator to the audio channel. In this case, our ESP32 board will get the audio and will send it to the speaker. The channel gets automatically configured based on the capabilities of the speaker, as well as based on what the audio generator will send in terms of format. You can also override some of that functionality here in the properties. This version also can upload code over Wi-Fi directly from the Visuino. I will try to quickly show you this with ESP32 board. I will create a new ESP32 project using the development board. Next, I will go here under modules, Wi-Fi, and I will connect the board to one of my access points. Set the point name and password. Next, in the Wi-Fi, I'll add program over Wi-Fi operation. I can set host name and password here. This is optional, however, I will add it just to show you how it works in reality. Password is not necessary. Now I will connect my dev board to the computer, select the right COM port and upload the code. First, of course, it will compile, and now it is uploading. If we wait a little bit, we'll discover that now we have another port available. In this case, it is our test 1 at 192.168.0.24 ESP32 board. And now I can select this port instead of the COM port. Click on the Upload button. A new window will appear. This is a minor inconvenience, but here you can enter the optional password. In this case, it is empty password. And now you can see the code being uploaded. Once uploaded, the window will disappear and will have reported success. So now I can upload my code from anywhere. If I disconnect on upload over the serial, it will not switch the window as it did before, and I can upload again to show you again how it works. Now it is super easy to update project over Wi-Fi with the ESP32 and 8266 boards as example. There is a whole lot of more stuff in this version. Again, this is a huge version. A lot of new components have been added. Number of new boards and devices has also been added. One of the most notable ones is the new Neuro Shield from General Vision, which allows you to add easy, real-time artificial intelligence in your devices. You can add classifiers, you can add train and recognize operations, load and store knowledge, and plenty more. The classifiers can work as RBF or KNN type of classifiers, allowing you to implement variety of very fast real-time classifications on boards as simple as traditional Arduino Uno. I will see to post more tutorials on how to use the shield and what you can do with it. However, this video already is quite long. I hope you have enjoyed it and you will give the new Visuino a try and let me know how do you like it. One of the improvements I forgot to mention is that now the visual editor is much more responsive and faster when working with big Visuino projects. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you really like it, please remember, click on the like button, and to support the channel you can also subscribe. And now it's time for me to say goodbye and go back to working on the next Visuino version.